believe we are recording now.
All right.
All right. Well, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Happy day after Christmas. I ain't got to wrap nothing. I ain't got to cook for several days to eat everything up. So we kind of coast into the new year. This lesson here is from Revelation. You know, we've been talking all through the Advent season about we're waiting. Well, now we got Jesus waiting. So we've been waiting for him, now he's waiting for us. And the passage in Revelation is from the 3rd chapter, and it's from the vision that John had of heaven and the saints and the elders, I guess, sitting around the throne that God was sitting in, and got the four beasts who I reckon represent all of creation, all of the living creatures, people and animals too. But everybody's just constantly falling down and worshiping God. And this passage here is, if I remember correctly, is right after the passage where Jesus spoke to the 7 churches in Asia Minor, which is, we would know it today as Turkey. But that's the part of the world it was in. And, you know, one of those churches, the church of Laodicea, Jesus didn't have anything good to say about it. The others he had maybe some good, some bad. This particular church, he didn't have anything good to say. He just said, y'all just lukewarm. He said, I wish you was just either hot or either cold. He said, lukewarm ain't even fit for nothing. He said, I'm about ready to be done with y'all. And to be fair to the people in Laodicea, it was the time they believed this was written was when it was later in the Roman Empire where they had really got harsh and mean. And the earlier part of the Roman Empire, which the Romans were always kind of harsh and mean to the people that they conquered. But as things went on and the empire got a little bit more dissolute, they began to be meaner and meaner to their subjects. And the emperor at the time, they think it was Domitian, who was one of the worst as far as persecuting anybody. He was one of those Roman emperors who said, "I'm a god." Most of them didn't say they were God until after they were dead. They deified them, but he's like, "I'm God, ain't?" And of course, to all the Jews and the new Christians, we can't go along with this. It's not, we got one God and you ain't him. And they would not worship this emperor. And so he started killing them, throwing them out of the country. He was, before the Romans had kind of just let these people go along as long as they weren't causing any political trouble. But now this emperor, Domitian, is, I'm going to kill all of it. And so the Laodiceans were faced with that. They were very wealthy because of the location. It was a major trade route. So they had a lot to lose. And so apparently they were kind of going through the motions of saying, yeah, we're Christians. But they weren't doing anything with it. They were figuring it was better to keep their well-being than to keep their faith or be open about their faith. So Jesus, he didn't like that too much. he, in all his ministry, he had very little patience with people who kind of wanted to straddle the fence and be on both sides. You're either, as far as Jesus was kind of like the Roman emperor, he was like, either you with me or you're against me. He said, there ain't no in between. So, that part of Revelation has passed. John has seen that part of his vision. And now he's seen the vision of everybody sitting around God's throne, the elders and everybody. And they're just worshiping God and they're waiting. And what they're waiting for is us. Like I said, we've talked all the way through the Advent season for the past month or so about Advent is we're waiting for something to happen, something important. That's what Advent, I think the root word is something new is coming. So we've been waiting. Well, now Christmas is over. We're all full, we're tired. We're glad it only comes once a year. And so we're done waiting now. We're ready to move along. And the title of the lesson is Jesus is waiting. So he's waiting. Carolyn corrected me last week and said that God is not ever going to give up on us.
Correct.
No matter how worthless we may seem, or what Christ is saying here. He said, I'm standing here waiting. He said, I'm knocking at your door. He said, whether you let me in or not is up to you. And he said, if you open the door, let me in, then you're going to win your victory over the world. He said, if you don't let me in, well, okay. You didn't let me in, I'll move on. The thing that hit me the most about Jesus waiting. So it means God is waiting. And I'm thinking, well, why does he need to wait? He can fix whatever he wants to fix right now if that's what he wants to do. So I'm like, why is he waiting? Why does he need to be waiting? That's what goes through my mind when I'm reading this lesson. Why does he need to wait? We need to wait because we can do it better, but he doesn't need to wait. He can go ahead and knock the world down and remake it if he wants to. Well, what I think about is he's waiting because if he comes back now, we're going to be like the church in Laodicea. Most of us ain't going to be worth saving, so we're going to get smashed. And I don't think God wants to do that. I think he's waiting and waiting and waiting, hoping that when he does come back, that most of us will have decided, let's open that door. Or maybe we've already opened that door. That's what I believe in my heart. That's why, we're waiting. The church is waiting. We're over 2,000 years now. We're still waiting. Mm-hmm. And it says here, Jesus is still waiting. We're waiting to the point that so many people have just given up waiting, and a lot of people just believe the world's going to go on like it is, and they ain't going to get no better. I can't accept believing that because it just ain't. If the world's not going to ever get any better, if nothing's any better than what we struggle through, then it ain't hardly worth living. That's my personal belief. That don't mean y'all got to agree with me, but that's what this speaks to me, these passages. And so I believe that he hasn't given up. I have doubts quite often that maybe he has just turned his back and said, we're going to start a new world somewhere. This one is hopeless. But Carolyn assures us, and the Bible assures us, if we want to believe it, that he hasn't given up, nor will he ever. And again, I think the reason that God is waiting, is waiting for us to want him to come back. I think most of the world right now, the last thing the world wants to see is Christ coming back, because a whole lot of things will have changed. A lot of people will be knocked down if he comes right now. And he may come this evening, for we don't know. But I really and truly think that he loves us so much he doesn't want to destroy any of us, even those who we look and see are really, we say these are bad people, they're not worth saving. I think God wants to save everyone he can possibly save. And so he's waiting for us to want to be saved. That's what I think. And that's why I believe he is still waiting. And I sort of think maybe he is back. He's kind of standing outside the door, knocking on the door. And each of us is a door. And he's kind of just knocking, Are y'all going to answer me? So I think that he's already here, and he's here waiting, knocking, hoping for an answer. Revelation leads us to believe that when Christ does come back, that it's going to be a big dramatic event, that it's going to be huge battles, and like one of them John Wayne cowboy movies where they just shoot.
Oh, I'm going.
That's the picture we all, I think, have in our mind. It's going to be a big shootout, gunfight at OK Corral kind of thing. And maybe it is. I don't know. I don't pretend to say that I understand this kind of literature that's in Revelation. It's kind of like, look at Revelation and you go back and read the book of Daniel. They kind of very similar. The language that's used, the mental pictures you get are hard to understand. And you have to remember that all this in Scripture is very political, whether we want to say we're being political or not, but it is very political. And when a lot of this was written and these messages were being passed around, if you stood up in the middle of town and said all this out in plain words, then you were not going to finish your speech before the Romans killed you. So a lot of this is written so certain people will understand it. And through 2,000 years, we don't see the same world they saw. So a lot of this, we don't understand it. And you can do all the reading you want. You can get books. You can Google. And everybody and his brother's got a different opinion on what this all means. And they're all exactly sure what it all means. And I think they're full of it, really. But because we don't know what it means. The only thing we can hope to know it means is that it's telling us Jesus is waiting. He's not giving up on us. He's still waiting. And he wants us to say, okay, Jesus, we're ready. Again, each of our hearts is like the door to the house where he's knocking at. And there was a famous painting. I forget who painted it now, but he was one of the famous painters who painted a picture of Jesus knocking at the door. And this door in the image, in the painting, it's grown over with weeds. You can't hardly see the door. And there's no handle on the outside, which means it can only go from the inside. And, that's the one power that God does not, well, I'm not going to say he doesn't have the power, but he chooses not to exercise that power, is to make us come along. One of the gifts he gave us was freedom of choice. We can choose yay or nay. So So I don't think God can get into our heart unless we want him to. And again, I think that's why he's still waiting when we don't even feel like waiting no more. He's waiting, hoping we'll open that door. Because he can't open that door. It's kind of like you can't make a person do what they don't really want to do. You can force them to do things, but they're not going to do it with any sort of heart in it. Well, Jesus could drag us along, but our heart wouldn't be in it. That's no good to him. He wants us to open that door ourselves. And I said a minute ago that I think Jesus may have already come back. He never really left. And God's kingdom on earth, we think about the dramatic scene, the big battle, and then when that's over, here comes the New Jerusalem coming down like a big stage scene in the Nutcracker or something.
Yeah.
And it may be that way. I don't know. Nobody knows. But I think he's already here, and every time somebody opens that door, then his kingdom's just gotten a little bit bigger. And we're just a little bit closer. And that's what I believe in that. I'm not saying I'm right.
Tim, the artist was William Holman Hunt.
Yeah.
The first artist, the first rendition of it was painted in 1827 to 1910.
Was he American or
English.
English?
Mm-hmm. Represents the figure of Jesus preparing to knock on an overgrown and long unopened door. Yeah. Yep.
Well, that's kind of the picture that I see. That's what, and maybe that's the belief that I'm comfortable with.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
And then just one more message before I leave to go set up. Donald Rose says, have just settled in chair for now and believe I feel a little better. Hello to everyone and thanks for prayers and taking care of Johnny. God is good all the time. So with that, I got to go
Have
sit
you
up.
heard from Johnny this morning?
I haven't talked to Johnny this morning, no.
Is he home?
Yes, Johnny is at home.
Oh.
Yeah.
So who's taking care of him?
Everybody.
apparently the whole community.
Yeah. He has got plenty of food. People call him fairly regularly. I talked to him on Christmas Day. He sounded winded, but he was cleaning the back porch. And he said he has so much food, he might be throwing some away.
Oh,
Yeah.
He tells me he's doing as well as could be expected.
Yep. All right. I got to go set up.
all right. Well, basically to me, this lesson, we've been waiting. Jesus is waiting, and he won't get tired of waiting. And he won't give up. Does anybody want to add something different, a different take they have on it? Because if I keep talking, I'm going to just start repeating myself like I usually do. And they don't pay me enough to keep repeating myself. So anybody got something they want to add?
You get paid for doing this?
Well, we had a mighty good Christmas in my house.
Good.
We had a good one in our house.
And so far as I can tell, we didn't eat too much.
How many did you feed, Miss Crane? 50?
I really haven't counted on that. No, I'd say about
30?
Gracious man. That's a lot of people feed.
more came than I thought would
That's
have
what
gone. Some didn't.
Did you have any leftovers?
Yes.
You did?
I sent all of them home with them that I could.
Is that the new Sunday school books?
It is. Yeah, you need one.
Yes.
We don't have no more large print.
That's all right.
Well, this ain't real small. It ain't turtle.
I couldn't understand Carolyn right here when she was talking.
Well, the
Can
last
you hear?
test is to put it on the lectern and see pulpit and see if you can hear her.
But I could hear him.
One was the Sunday school work as well.
Oh, so.
That was one of the tests to see if he could hear you with this device. The last test is Carolyn.
Well, could you hear me?
Yeah, I could hear you, but when she started talking over here,
Couldn't hear her.
I couldn't
She was
make
talking kinda
out
low.
what she was saying.
I couldn't understand everything she said.
Well, if you can hear me, then you brought it on yourself. Just
This
remember
conversation,
that.
she couldn't hear you.
And I hadn't heard you in a number of months. I said I couldn't understand what you said.
Right. Well, you brought this on yourself.
So you're saying he's better than what we said, right?
Well, we did not carry this too far.
It don't matter.
Now, Robert couldn't hear, and people would ask, why would you go to church, or why would you go if you can't hear the preacher? And he'd say, I just want people to know whose side I'm on.
I remember when he was in the choir, and that man could sing forevermore, sing. And he would tell me sometimes, he said, you sing out now? He said, because I had to listen to you because I can't hear the music. And I said, well, I'm listening to you, so I know what to say.
That's blind leading the blind.
Yeah. But no, it won't be blind leading the blind, because he was going to be right. It didn't matter. And he could sing harmony to every line of every song that ever been written, I believe. And just sing it, it won't written nowhere. I used to wonder how in the world he could do that, because I can't pick that out and hear it, but he could hear it in his head.
We were visiting in the mountains, and groups sitting around playing and singing, and he'd come up and start his tenor, and he knew every word of every song they would sing.
That's a gift.
It was,
To be able to harmonize.
It is a gift.
It's hard even reading the music to harmonize.
Yeah, and I mean, and he wouldn't be singing the regular tenor line, he'd be singing his own notes, but it sounded better than the tenor line did. And it was written in the book.
He took music about 2 years with David Fillingham, professional teacher, and because they were good buddies. But the day he quit, he went right back to his old style.
Yeah. He knew him on. It's kind of like James Rowland, when he started failing, he would get kind of lost sometimes. But as soon, if it was an old song, one of the traditional songs that we've always sang, as soon as he heard the first two notes, he started singing. He knew the words every verse.
He would sing whatever you were singing.
Well,
If
he
you
knew
sang
it.
tenor, he was singing tenor.
Yeah.
If you sang bass, he'd sing bass. He was singing whatever person was singing.
But as soon as the music started, he wasn't confused and lost somewhere. He knew.
Mm-hmm.
Now we haven't seen Henry and Ann lately finish.
Well, Carolyn said that she thought they had some kind of plans or something going on as far as the date. I don't know. Last time I talked to them, they was doing okay, so I don't know. Were they here last week? They weren't.
She told you Henry fell or something, didn't she?
I thought she
She
did.
told you Henry had fallen or something last week when he called him. You'll have to call him again this week.
I'll check on it.
No. Well, let me stop this recording before somebody says something they ought not to say. But thank everybody for coming. Everybody that's listening in, if you all are listening in. And again, I'm like Jesus now. I ain't giving up. I keep hoping that we'll get back to where everybody be comfortable coming to Sunday school.
But by the time we start to get comfortable, we develop something else.
It seems that way. It's kind of like they got them in a cabin. They just pull one open and people start feeling comfortable. Let me shut this off before I get political here.